At the beginning of the story, we see our main character, Takeru, who's just an ordinary guy. Every day he has to go to the office, work long hours, and then head back home. He starts saying that his life feels extremely boring. He goes to the same place to work, does the same tasks, comes back the same way. Everything in his ordinary life feels repetitive. He wishes his life were at least a little exciting. Right after saying this, Takeru turns on his TV, and suddenly he's transported to a completely different place. In front of him sits a man, and Takeru is shocked. He asks, "Who are you?" The man replies that he's the one who watches over the solar system, and Takeru can consider him a god. He manages the entire universe. He explains that no matter how hard he tries, the planet called Medius keeps collapsing. Its civilization is falling apart, and the situation is getting worse. That's why he needs to interfere directly now. He tells Takeru that he'll be sending him to that world so it can change for the better. Hearing this, Takeru is stunned. He asks how the god can just drop such a huge bombshell on him, but the god explains that Takeru doesn't have any other choice. He's already dead. If he refuses to go to this new world, his soul will simply disappear. But he doesn't need to worry. He won't be sent empty-handed. The god will give him gifts, special abilities. The god grants Takeru the power to use magic and asks if he wants anything else. Takeru says he wants a cute partner. The god notes that request and tells him he'll meet his partner when the time is right. He also boosts Takeru's scouting skills so he can collect materials and sell them for money. The god gives him a handy bag to store everything, teaches him the language of the new world, and grants him several resistances. After doing all this, the god realizes he may have given Takeru a bit too much power. Before Takeru can say anything, he disappears from that place and wakes up in his new body. He finds himself in a deep forest and decides the first thing he needs is to find a place where people actually live, like a village. After walking for a long time, he finally spots a village, but he then realizes he has no money. Without money, no one will let him stay there, so he decides to earn some first. He remembers the god telling him that collecting materials and selling them would give him money. So Takeru tries activating his scouting magic, but nothing happens. Embarrassed, he wonders why his power didn't activate. He tries another word, search, and this time his power finally activates. The search skill shows him where all the materials are located. Takeru now understands that the magic depends on the specific activation word. He tries other words like check, investigate, and scan. When he says scan, he can actually read the details of each material. His first material is a B-rank item. Soon he gathers everything he can find, though most of it turns out to be low rank. After collecting a large amount, he finally reaches the village. A guard stops him and asks if he's a warrior or a swordsman because of his tall height. Takeru says he's just there to sell materials. The guard introduces himself as Merlo and tells him that the village is called Tormi. He directs Takeru to a shop where he can sell everything. People stare at Takeru because of how tall he is. He reaches the shop and shows the shopkeeper the first material, a B-rank monster drop. The shopkeeper is shocked and offers him 5 silver coins for it. Takeru asks how much that actually is, and whether it's enough for a room at the inn. The shopkeeper explains that 1 night costs 500, and 1 silver coin equals 1,000. Takeru does the math and realizes his item is worth 30,000. He sells the item and shows the shopkeeper the rest of what he found. The shopkeeper is impressed and tells him he has a job for him. If Takeru can go to the eastern mountains and gather mithril ore, he'll pay him 2 million, but he warns him that the mountains are full of monsters. Later, Takeru gets a room at an inn. The staff brings him warm water, and he's confused about what to do with it. She explains that he's supposed to clean himself with it. He asks where the bath is, but she tells him there is no bath unless someone is a noble. Hearing this, Takeru becomes depressed. He's exhausted and wants a proper bath. She mentions that some mages can clean people with magic, but none live in this village. So an idea strikes him. After she leaves, Takeru decides to try using magic himself. He says clean, and the spell activates, washing him thoroughly with water. The next day, Takeru continues exploring. He finds a dead skeleton on the ground, someone who was clearly a security guard. He thinks the person must have died in a fight. Near the skeleton, he finds a family charm with a letter inside, written by the guard's sister. Feeling bad, Takeru buries the skeleton properly and lets him rest in peace. As night approaches, he draws a circle on the ground and activates a barrier around himself. Sitting inside it, he cooks his food and enjoys a peaceful meal. After that, Takeru arrives at the White Tree Forest. This place is also known as the Forest of Ancient Dragons. It's considered a danger zone where monsters often attack. Takeru starts collecting tons of materials there. He's so excited that he keeps running ahead, but suddenly he slips and falls into a ravine. He gets scared for a moment, but then he uses fly. Thanks to that, he lands safely. After reaching the bottom, he finds even more materials and collects them, but he still hasn't found any mithril. When he uses search, he realizes one ore vein is buried much deeper, so he uses magic to blast the area open and finally finds the ore. After that, he continues deeper, looking for more. But then, out of nowhere, he discovers glowing water. When he scans it, he finds out it's magic water from an ancient dragon's home, and it's double S rank. Takeru decides to collect it. He's in the middle of doing that when suddenly a massive dragon appears right in front of him. The dragon asks, "Who are you? How dare you disturb my sleep?" Even after seeing such a huge dragon, Takeru doesn't panic. He simply apologizes for entering without permission. The dragon is surprised and asks who he is. Takeru tells him his name and that he's a human. The dragon says he senses an enormous amount of magic coming from him, magic as strong as his own. Takeru asks if he's an ancient dragon. The dragon confirms this and says his name is Valadius. Then he says he wants to test Takeru's power. With that strength, he might be able to revive his child. Because of all the mana in this place, the egg hasn't been able to hatch. Valadius asks for Takeru's help and promises to reward him with magic mithril ore. Then he hands Takeru the egg. Takeru gets confused and asks what he's supposed to do with it. Valadius tells him to pour his magic into the egg. Takeru agrees and begins channeling his magic, but the egg suddenly starts draining a huge amount of mana from him. Takeru struggles, realizing he might die. Valadius laughs while watching him, making Takeru panic even more. Just when he thinks he's done for, Takeru suddenly finds himself in a completely different place. A god is standing in front of him, but he looks different from the one he met earlier. This god tells him he's too careless. Normally when people see a dragon, they faint or run for their lives. But Takeru didn't do that. By acting like this, he has changed the laws of the world itself. The god says he had been trying for thousands of years to bring change to this world, but Takeru managed to create change almost immediately. It seems the other god gave him incredibly powerful blessings. Then he reminds Takeru that he asked for a cute partner. He'll get her soon, but she's also going to be a big problem for him. In the next moment, Takeru wakes up. He sees the egg has finally hatched. A baby dragon crawls out and immediately hugs him. Valadius tells Takeru to name the child. Takeru thinks for a moment and names him B. B likes the name, and Valadius agrees it suits him. Valadius then tells B to go explore the world. B joins Takeru's party. Takeru is shocked and asks Valadius why he's sending his son with him. Valadius says he trusts Takeru because his power is even greater than his own. After placing a special enchantment on Takeru's bag, he leaves. B then gives Takeru the mithril ore as promised. Takeru asks if B wants to join him on his journey collecting materials. B says yes. Takeru agrees but says they need to clean up first. He uses his magic to clean B. They both leave the cave. Since night is approaching, Takeru decides to camp nearby. We then learn that Valadius connected Takeru's bag to the underground lake, so he can take the magic water anytime. He gives B the water since it's important for B's growth. At B's request, Takeru drinks some too. Takeru explains that he bought an encyclopedia earlier, and that magic stones are incredibly valuable, but he discovers he can actually create magic stones with his bare hands. Later, he cooks the same meal he made before. B tastes it and loves it, hugging Takeru out of excitement. Takeru checks B's stats and sees that even though he's a B-rank dragon with many skills, he's still just a child who needs to learn properly. He warns B not to do anything reckless. The next day, they continue their journey. Takeru returns to the same forest he visited the previous night. It doesn't look nearly as scary during the day. He starts collecting more materials, but suddenly B gets scared and hides behind him because several monsters appear. Takeru prepares to fight, but then a rock falcon, a C-rank monster, swoops in behind the others. Takeru creates a barrier and launches ice attacks, easily defeating the falcon. Then several serpent wolves, also C-rank, jump out of the bushes. They attack, but Takeru lightens his body to dodge their strikes, then hardens his body and defeats them all with ease. He begins collecting their meat. Just then, they notice even more monsters approaching. B panics and tries to fly Takeru away, but he can't hold him properly. so Takeru lightens himself again, and they shoot up into the air. But B suddenly loses grip and drops him. Fortunately, Takeru falls right near the place where they camped the night before. That means returning to the village will be easy. They start heading back. Takeru is holding a tree branch he found. B asks what it is, and Takeru explains it came from his bag. It's a branch of the famous tree Yggdrasil. B channels a bit of mana into it, and the branch transforms into a magic staff. Suddenly, B hears something and runs into the forest. Takeru follows him and finds an elf girl sitting there. He wonders if she was attacked by monsters. She says no, she hasn't eaten anything for 3 days and needs water. Takeru gives her some to drink, but then she says she's hungry again. That's when Takeru remembers the innkeeper packed him a lunch. Takeru hands it to her, and she really likes the lunch a lot. Seeing that she's okay now, Takeru asks, "Tell me something. The village isn't even that far from here, so how are you out here without any food?" The girl replies that she was in a hurry. Takeru says, "Even if you were in a hurry, you could have at least packed some basic rations. That's just common sense." Hearing that, the elf girl gets a little annoyed. She's about to explain her reason, but then Takeru notices a really strong smell coming from her. Seeing his reaction, the elf gets angry and says, "Fine, if that's how it is, I'm leaving. I'm in a hurry anyway." Saying that, she runs off. In the next scene, Takeru gathers more materials from the forest and finally comes out to the road. Just then, he sees a horse carriage approaching. The people in it are surprised to see him there and ask, "Where are you headed?" He says, "I'm going to Tormi village." Hearing this, they tell him that walking that far is pretty tough. They ask, "Are you a mage?" He replies, No, I just collect materials and sell them." The man says that's pretty rare. Then he adds, "If you're going to Tormi village, come with us. We're headed there too." Takeru agrees and hops in. Inside the carriage, he notices 2 kids who quickly become friends with him. Takeru asks them, "Why did you guys help me? What if I had been some kind of thug? What would you have done then?" They tell him that they would have known because they have an item that warns them when danger is nearby. Hearing that, Takeru thinks he should make an item like that too. He introduces himself and they introduce themselves as well. The lady says, "My name is Eliza, this girl is Yunon, this girl is Ken, and that man is Poron." Suddenly, they all hear B's sound. Yunon asks him to show them what it is. Takeru says he's not sure if he should because the monster is extremely rare. Eliza tells him that monsters aren't that rare, and adventurers often keep them with them. So Takeru agrees and shows them B. He tells them it's a baby black dragon, but he doesn't tell them it's actually an ancient dragon. They're shocked and say, "This is a dragon. Does that mean you're a Dragonite?" Takeru quickly says no, and explains he just found the dragon egg. Hearing that, they're even more surprised and say they've never heard of such a thing. Takeru then asks, "Does that mean dragons really are rare?" Eliza answers yes, and that Dragonites are rarely seen, but seeing a real dragon is even rarer. By night, they stop somewhere to camp. Takeru cooks dinner for everyone. They absolutely love the food. Poron likes it so much he almost starts crying. After that, they all have fun together, dancing, singing, enjoying the night. Seeing this, Takeru feels really happy, because he's finally experiencing a night of joy he never got to enjoy back on Earth. They eventually fall asleep, wake up the next morning, and prepare to leave again. This time, Takeru drives the carriage, and finally they reach the village. Everyone says goodbye and leaves. Seeing Poron, Merlo says, "If Poron is back, that means spring is coming too." He clarifies that he's talking about the season, not a girl named Spring. Takeru asks what Poron actually does, and Merlo explains that during winter, Poron travels to warmer places and works there weaving clothes to earn money. After that, Takeru returns to the shop where Jeremy begins checking all of Takeru's materials. Takeru also shows him the Mistral ore, along with the Mistral magic ore. Jeremy is shocked when he sees it and asks, "Where in the world did you get this? These are the kind of things you only read about in stories. They're so valuable that just a few pieces can replace magic stones for the entire kingdom." Takeru is stunned to hear how powerful the ore actually is. He says he just happened to find them. Jeremy then tells him, "You really don't know anything about common sense in this world, do you? It would be better if you go to Belkown. It's a city much bigger than this village. You'll find an adventurers guild there, and you'll get plenty of information. You'll understand how this world really works. You can also sell your materials there." Takeru agrees with him. In the next scene, Takeru goes back to his room and starts researching what a guild actually is. After learning a lot about guilds, he says, "I'm really lucky to have come to this world. I want to travel. I want to see things I've never seen before. And if I become an adventurer, I'll be able to earn money and travel at the same time. He decides that he'll go to Belkame and join the guild, but he still has a lot to do in the village first, so he'll go later. After that, he cuts up the falcon and shares all the meat with the entire village, and they end up having a small celebration. The same girl who cut the falcon prepares soup stock powder from its bones. The lady then says, "When you leave tomorrow, this place is going to feel really empty without you. The villagers want you to stay a little longer." But Takeru says, "I'm sorry, but there are so many things out there in the world that I want to see." She says, "All right, but take this with you," and gives him a lunch pack. She gives him a lot of lunch. In the next scene, Takeru returns to his room. He realizes that Jeremy won't buy this magical mithril ore because it's way too valuable. Takeru thinks that maybe he should use it himself somehow. He says that this village has helped him so much, so he wants to turn this ore into something that will benefit the village. He looks at the lantern and wonders if he can combine it with the ore. He tries it, and the item is created perfectly. Light is extremely happy to see that the tool they wanted has finally been completed. In the following scene, it's time for Takeru to leave. Everyone has come to say goodbye. He hands the magic tool to Merlo and says that he made it. This item will create a barrier around the entire village. No monster or bandit will be able to enter. Merlo is shocked and asks if he's sure he wants to give them something so valuable. Takeru says that this is his way of saying thank you, and that he wants them to be safe until he returns. Jeremy realizes that Takeru used the mithril ore to build this tool. He tries to talk to him about it, but Takeru runs away before he can say anything. Takeru continues his journey toward Belkame. On the way, he sees a huge crab with a C rank, and it's edible. As soon as he hears that, Takeru gets ready to fight it. But before he can attack, B knocks the crab out instantly. 2 more crabs appear, but they defeat those easily as well. Night falls, and they camp there, cooking and eating the crab. After traveling for a long time, they finally reached the commercial city of Belkan in the kingdom of Algerio. When scanning the area, Takeru learns that this city has the biggest guild on the continent. Before entering the city, an inspection is taking place. The guards check him and say that it's rare to see a gatherer. They ask if he's here to sell materials. Takeru says no, he actually wants to join the guild. The guard agrees, but says he first needs to use Avers on him. Avers is a magic spell used to check if someone is a good person or a criminal. The guard checks Takeru but finds nothing suspicious. Takeru starts wondering if other people can see his real stats. He tries scanning the guard back and sees that his own stats look normal. He assumes the extra skills the god gave him probably can't be detected by others. But then the guard asks why he has the blessing of the dragon. So Takeru shows him B and explains that he has a dragon as his partner. The guard asks for proof, so Takeru puts on the charm that the village kids made for him. B becomes very happy seeing it. The guard then says he'll inform the mayor that a dragon entered the city. They direct Takeru toward the guild and welcome him to Belkame. Inside, he gets excited seeing all kinds of people. He heads straight to the guild registration desk, where the receptionist, Ariana, welcomes him. She asks him to fill out a form, and he writes that he's a material gatherer. Ariana asks if he has any combat experience. Takeru says yes. A little like defeating a huge bird, wolves with snake tails, and a giant crab. Ariana asks if he has proof. He says yes and pulls the giant crab out of his bag. It's so heavy that the table breaks. Everyone around is shocked. Takeru asks if that's enough proof. The guildmaster sees everything and notices that Takeru also has an item box. He becomes suspicious and uses Avers on him. He finds out that Takeru is telling the truth and isn't a bad person. He asks Takeru if he has any other party members he wants to register with. Takeru says yes. B is his partner. Everyone is stunned that a gatherer has a dragon partner. All the adventurers start thinking that if Takeru joined their party, they would benefit a lot. They try to approach him, but Ariana stops everyone and takes Takeru to another room to complete his registration. She gives him a guild card that looks like a bracelet and explains that he'll start at rank F and slowly rise.